Spaceman, based on the TV series by Dave McKee. It was an ordinary day in Festive Road. Boys played with the toy rockets while their mothers brought home the shopping. Number 52 was Mr. Benn's house, but he was nowhere to be seen. Mr. Benn was in the back garden talking to his neighbour. "Why is it," asked the neighbour, "that your grass looks greener than mine?" "Oh, that's strange," said Mr. Benn. "I always think yours looks greener than mine." They both laughed. Mr. Benn decided to go for a walk in the park. He sat on a bench and watched a boy flying a kite. "I wonder if it would go above the clouds if the string was long enough," he thought. "It would be so interesting to go above the clouds." All of a sudden, Mr. Benn tingled with excitement as he remembered the costume shop. In almost no time at all, Mr. Benn was in the special shop where adventures start. As if by magic, the shopkeeper appeared. "Good morning, sir. I do believe you've made your mind up already." "I'd like to try the space outfit," said Mr. Benn. "You know the way, sir," replied the shopkeeper, pointing to the changing room. Mr. Benn changed into the space outfit. He looked at himself in the mirror and then headed for the door that always led to adventure. On the other side, he found himself in a spaceship. Another spaceman was at the controls. "Hello," he said. "Ready for blast off? Here we go, then." Mr. Benn felt the spaceship surge as it lifted off. "Where are we going?" said Mr. Benn, as he watched the stars through the window. "To a planet covered with gold and jewels. We'll be rich," said the spaceman. That would be fun, thought Mr. Benn, but all he could see was a very ordinary planet. The spaceship landed with a bump. Lying all around were lumps of glittering gold and jewels, just as the spaceman had said. "We're rich," said the spaceman, and they walked around picking up the best jewels and pieces of gold they could find. All of a sudden, they met a man dressed in rags, sitting on a lump of gold. "Hello," said the man. "What are you going to do with that gold?" The spaceman laughed. "We're rich. We can do anything we like." "I'm afraid you're wrong," said the ragged man. "It's no good to you at all. There's no shops on this planet, so there's nowhere to spend the riches. Anyway, as soon as you leave this planet, they turn into ordinary stones. The next planet is the place to be. There they live in comfort, and everything is free." "In that case, we may as well travel to the next planet," said the spaceman. So they put down their gold and jewels and made their way back to the spaceship. But Mr. Benn took one piece of gold with him to see what it would look like when it changed to stone. The spaceship zoomed away from the planet on its journey. "There it is," said the spaceman, as they spotted another planet coming very close. The spaceship landed near a town. Mr. Benn and the spaceman saw that the shops were full of things, and nobody looked poor. At restaurants, people sat outside and ate for free. Mr. Benn and the spaceman sat down too. But something was wrong. They noticed that apart from themselves, everything looked colourless. "Tell us about this dullness," they said to the waiter. "Well," said the waiter, "there's no colour here at all. And if you stay here for very long, you'll be just like us. But there is another planet not far away, where everything is very bright." "That's for us," said the spaceman. "Let's go there. I don't fancy a life without colour." Back in the spaceship, Mr. Benn watched the grey planet getting smaller and smaller as they headed towards the next planet. "I hope the next planet will be better," said Mr. Benn as they flew nearer. "We'll have a good look around first," replied the spaceman. "We won't get out if we see anything wrong." Once they'd landed, they peered out of the window. Everything looked all right. Colourful birds flew past. There were bright flowers and trees. They saw gaily coloured houses. People dressed in vivid clothes were walking about. Mr. Benn and the spaceman looked through the telescopes just to make sure. The only unusual thing they could see were the hats that everyone had pulled over their ears. "Just the fashion," said the spaceman. "Let's go outside." But they soon realised that the hats were not just fashion. Everyone had their ears covered for one very good reason. The air was filled with the most horrible screeching noises. Mr. Benn and the spaceman ran back to the spaceship and took off into the night. Before they'd gone far, the spaceman said, "I'm lost. Ah, we'll have to stop at the next planet we pass and ask the way. So once again, they landed. This time the planet was very hot. Too hot, in fact. But at least it was quiet. Nobody was about. Then, as if by magic, a man appeared. It was a shopkeeper. We're lost, explained the spaceman. We've been to all sorts of planets, but we don't know where to go next. There's a planet that is not altogether perfect, but then there's not much wrong with it either, said the shopkeeper. Well, we'll try there, said the spaceman. You go, said Mr. Benn. I think I'll stay here. I've had enough of travelling. It's very hot, sir, said the shopkeeper. Why don't you step inside the cave? It will be cooler there. Mr. Benn went into the cave. As he expected, found that he was back in the changing room of the shop. He looked at himself in the mirror, then changed into his old clothes. Where did you send the spaceman? He asked as he returned the space outfit. Here, sir, back to Earth, said the shopkeeper. It's not perfect. Well, it's not too bad either. Mr. Benn smiled. Back in Festive Road, people went about their business as usual. At his gate, Mr. Benn took the lump of stone out of his pocket. Nobody would believe that this was once gold, he thought. But I'll always keep it. Then I will remember. The end.